Okay. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Zen Live, or Let's Crack the Cosmic Egg. And let me turn on my timer here so I won't run over. And anyway, I'm pumped up and ready to go. It's a beautiful day here in Blackstone, the center of the world. But then you too are the center of the world. We're all the center. You know, we in our material world, we feel like we're always on the periphery looking in. I know I grew up this way, and I wanted so much. My whole life has been basically a quest to be on the inside of my life instead of the outside looking in, to be my life instead of observing my life and witnessing and judging my life. I think we all feel that, the sense that I'm always, and that's the feeling of being incomplete. When you are judging, how am I doing? Did I do that wrong? Oh, what will people think? Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I can't do this right. Or wow, I really did this right. People are going to, I've arrived. Or wow, I'm enlightened. Or whatever. Whatever the judgment says, you see, it's still a split. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about this morning was the patterns of perception. The patterns of perception. Well, let me put an S here. Patterns of perception, and this was brought about. You know, when you hang out, and we're all on Facebook, or you wouldn't be here. But Facebook is a great battlefield, so to speak, where we can observe the flashpoints in our collective mind. So the first idea I want to get over is that there is such a thing as a collective mind, a collective brain mind, so to speak. And the media is the brain of the media internet, is the brain of our collective mind now. Well, we used to live in small towns, and you would get a newspaper to make reports on what happened in the greater world. But the world was pretty much your physical world of the small town. It was grounded in physical sense perception. You see that person, you see that. And so we all have that that paradise that we in our root, you know, the memories of the small town, the memories of the milkman, if maybe not. But anyway, just the memories, it's childhood. Just the memories of being grounded in a physical reality that you knew was real. I mean, you saw the dog, you knew the dog was real. If the dog bit you, you knew that was real. No one said, the dog bit me. Oh, the dog didn't bite you. But I felt the dog bite me, but oh, no, the dog didn't bite you. That's a split in perception. The dog bit me. Oh, the dog didn't bite you. Well, wait a minute. So the child says, the dog bit me. See, look at the marks right there. The dog didn't bite you. Get over it. So the child right there is split. Two patterns of perception. The parent's pattern, who probably doesn't, maybe the parent, I don't, when the parent says, no, the soup isn't salty, or no, the dog didn't bite you, that's a perception. An adult perception to the child, an authority perception. But the child says, but the dog bit me. I felt it. I perceived it through my senses. There it is. It's me. There's a conflict. Now, who does the child believe, you see? My own senses or the parent, you see? That creates a double bind or a split between two conflicting patterns of perception. So let's get on with it here before I get digressed. We're talking about patterns of perception. And a pattern of perception means the way I perceive the world that is not under my control. We can't consciously control a pattern of perception because the pattern of perception creates the reality which I perceive that I'm in. It creates a hologram in which I am in this reality that is perceived to be this way because it's a pattern, you see. So the pattern creates me in a reality. So it's beyond my conscious control. If I'm the product of the pattern, I can't change the pattern. You see, the pattern produces me, my sense of me, my values, what's real. The whole thing, you see. So I'm a creation of the patterns of perception. Now, the patterns of perception are in our collective mind. There are a lot of personal patterns of perception. For instance, if I have a perception of shame, a samskara of shame, then whatever I perceive is going to give me shame. Whatever I perceive is going to give me a sense of guilt or shame. You see. And in other words, I create a reality of shame because the pattern of perception is my personal shame, you see. Now, I may have gotten that from my father. I may have gotten it from my society. So the collective, you see, has these samskaras, these patterns of perception. And they're unconscious. And when you're born into that society, you inherit it. Your parents give it to you. So anyway, let's talk about two patterns of perception that I perceive. Now, just a side note there, the practice of mindfulness is the practice of transcending the patterns of perception, or samskaras, which means you become aware of the samskaras, not only in your personal life, your own little patterns of resentment and shame. Some people have a samskara of resentment. So they resent everything. They even resent being resentful. Everything comes in the form of resentment. Or everything comes in the form of shame. So everything that happens is going to be potential shame. You see, there's no escape. The pattern creates the shame. The pattern creates the resentment. Anxiety is now a national samskara. Everything comes in the form of anxiety. And anxiety is the result of not being able to see one reality. There's something out of sync. There's something amiss. There's something causing me this fear. There's something causing this dysfunction. I don't know what it is. It's the immigrants. It's Trump. It's Hillary. Go run around blaming it, you see. But anyway, I'm trying to hold myself on here. Samskara. So the two samskaras that I want to focus on came up in a Facebook conversation where there is an ad that is the current flashpoint, a Dove ad, where you have a black woman pulling off a sweater and becoming a white woman. Well, then there is a complete ad, and I'm sure I didn't see the complete ad, but it does this. I think maybe the ad's trying to say Dove is good for all skins. But then you take this piece out here, the black woman pulling the sweater off, and she becomes a white woman, is a racist samskara. Now, and then so the Facebook right there, when you post that, it divides into the two samskaras. One samskara says that's racist, and the other samskara says it's not racist. Okay, so let's look at so instead of looking at the content, which is it's my morning lemonade, instead of looking at what's in the glass, let's look at the content. Marshall McLuhan, famous economist, philosopher, said when he studied the media, and he said the medium is the message. Now, this has been a mantra that's been going off in my life, revealing reality to me as I go. It's like a time release capsule. The medium is the message. The pattern is the meaning. The medium is the delivery system. So the delivery system is the meaning. But there are two meanings. There's a secondary and a primary. The medium is the primary meaning. The pattern of perception is the meaning of the perception, not what you perceive. What you perceive has meaning, but the primary meaning is the pattern that delivers the meaning. And that's unconscious. We're not aware of that. It's below consciousness. We're just conscious of the secondary meaning. So the secondary meaning of the ad would be, well, it's about Dove soap and it's good for all skin. That's all there is, you see. But the delivery system is that it was delivering a subliminal racist message. But anyway, the point here is that in our nation today, there are two collective samskaras. And this really goes back to the civil rights and the end of institutional segregation. If you remember, and I do, in the South and in the North too, segregation was legal. It's called Jim Crow. You could legally put signs up saying, colored keep out, white only. That was legal segregation. So then the civil rights law, then that whole thing in the 60s that split the nation apart, made legal institutional segregation illegal. Well, that didn't end the samskara of racism, the division between black and white. That didn't just stop it, you see. It went underground. Whoop. And so then whatever's underground comes to the surface. If you've got an underground river, it's going to come up to the surface. So there's like a wave going on, a wave going underground like a riptide in our society that comes to the surface and breaks the surface. But when it breaks the surface, you see, it breaks in two ways. So one wave, one racism, one samskara says racism is everywhere. And the other samskara says racism is nowhere. And we can see this popping up. So the ad pops up, or eat politics. We're going to have voter ID. Well, that's racism. No, it's not. It's to protect your freedom of voting. It's to protect us from fraud. But there is no fraud, and it makes it difficult for black people to vote. No, there is no racism there. But there is racism there. And there you have the two samskaras. It's like a wave. A samskara is a wave. And so in our society, it looks like this. And wherever the two waves meet, boom, 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 they meet in the media as flashpoints, as eruptions of the two patterns of perception. And they never seem to agree. It's like the dog bit me. There's racism everywhere. The dog didn't bite you. The soup is salty. We say to the cook, the soup's not too salty, says the cook. But it tastes too salty. I'm telling you, it's not. There is no salt anywhere. But there's salt everywhere. There is racism everywhere. There is no racism. Well, both of these are samskaras. They're patterns of perception. So we really don't know. Was the ad racism or not? Was the people who did it, well, we're like, oh boy, this is a great racist ad. You know, we don't know. Because the samskaras are dictating perception. And this is not a good place to be. Because if we look at this is a disorder in the collective brain mind. In the same way that a samskara is a disorder in my mind. And we all have our little samskaras. My samskara, the one that I have been working on, is that I'm not worthy. So I shouldn't speak out. I should stay in the background. I can't do that. I don't want to be exposed that I'm not capable, so I better not do anything. I better not present myself to the world, because I'll be exposed, and people will know that I'm not worthy, that I'm ineffective. I can't do it, you see. So I inherited that, and that's been the happy fault for me, the happy fault, because the pain of it has created my practice to transcend it. And so here I am talking to you. I've got no self-consciousness or fear. of exposing myself. I'm exposed. See? Nothing to hide, you see. So there's a sense here of hypocrisy, which goes all the way back. Well, anyway, you know what I mean. Hypocrisy, which goes back to the biblical prophets who were railing against Jerusalem and Israel for being hypocritical. So what is a hypocrite but being a split mind? Saying one thing, doing another. The body is doing one thing, the mind is doing an opposite. Saying, in a pattern of perception, the pattern of perception is that I'm not doing that. But you look at them and, well, yes, you are doing it. No, I'm not doing it. You see, I don't think I'm doing it. I have no intention to do it. I'm innocent. But you look at, well, no, you're guilty. You did it. So this hypocrisy is a split mind, you see. That's my little figure, the split mind, you see. When I began my practice of yoga and I went to a yoga teacher who I believe was going to heal my split mind, I never could get to the tuna factory. I never could get to be a yoga teacher. I was in this yoga society that was training young in the early 70s, training young people to be yoga teachers, spiritual yoga teachers. You see, I'm going to do that. You see, but I was always going to get a group picture or go become part of the new class or whatever, the elite, the selected ones. And I would go and not yet. You're not ready yet. Teacher would say, sorry, Charlie, you can't go to the tuna factory yet, you see. And I would say, okay, well, there's time. I'll get there, you see. There's still time to heal. There's still time to be whole, to be accepted, you see. So the point is, though, that there was and my teacher said, you have a inconsistency in your lower nature. That was a polite way to say that I was dysfunctional. An inconsistency in your lower nature. In other words, I had a pattern of perception that I was unconscious of, or not conscious of, you see. So the pattern of perception was creating the sense of unworthiness. Everything turned out to make me unworthy. Everything turned out to make me not ready for prime time, you see. So anyway, we all have these patterns of perception. So these yoga psychology calls them samskaras. Samskaras, and they're unconscious, and they are inherited. And when we believe them, we feed into them. They come up to feed. Eckhart Tolle calls them the pain body. They come up like a koi out of the unconscious to feed. And then when they are satisfied, they go back down. And we think, I won't do that again. I'm free. Oh, God, why did that come back? Groundhog Day. The tape loop of repetition. I got to do more yoga to keep that coming up, you see. It comes back. As soon as you relax, boom, there it is. You quit smoking. I'm free from smoking. You go hang out with somebody, they have some cigarettes, they light a cigarette, you light the cigarette. Wait, what happened? And then anyway. So the point is, if there is a point, that I really detect that the media, social media, for instance, is really kind of like a battlefield for the civil war of these two samskaras. Racism is nowhere, racism is everywhere. And when these samskaras are in control, which they are, then we actually see racism nowhere, or we actually perceive racism everywhere. So then from this samskara, everything is an indication of racism. It's kind of like Mark Twain on the river. And he would see a little ripple. Well, the passengers on the boat wouldn't see anything there, but the riverboat Mark Twain, the riverboat guide, what the hell is it called? Anyway, he would see a log. You see, a log, and just a little twig up there. That's a log, you see. Everyone will say, oh, it's just a twig. Go right over it. No, that's a log. You see. So here, the racist samskara, everything is a hidden log of racism. It's underground. For the no racism anywhere samskara, it's always just a twig. There's no logs down there. There's no racism. You see. So anyway, I hope you get a feeling for it. And this is why when I work with Facebook, I really work with it in the sense of this is a battlefield, and I'm kind of like on the overlook. In the Bhagavad Gita, me and Krishna are on this overlook, looking at this battlefield of the American collective mind and its civil war with each other. So that we, instead of just joining one side or the other and shooting the other side, be Arjuna and come up on the overlook and look at the whole field from that place. Look at the whole play from the audience. You see, look at your own mind from your own awareness that is the observer, the witness of your mind. So we're really looking here is the only way to wholeness, the only way out of the conflict of samskaras is through an intention to be free from it. An intention to find that overlook where your awareness is awakened and you can see the whole field. You can see it, you can be in it, but you're not of it. Because you're always seeing the whole instead of the division. And that's really the only way to go. Because you can't go into the civil war. You can go on Facebook and argue for 30 years and nothing will change. You're not going to change anyone from these two things. It's like the soup is salty. No, it's not salty. Well, you can argue for years. Because we believe our perception. But our perception is created by the patterns of perception that are now embedded in our society. Our society does not see one America. Our society does not see one reality. And we long for that time. Like World War II, there was only one reality, one America. And we like that feeling. We like that feeling of unity. It's strength. Well, we can beat two wars on either, Nazis and Japs on either hand. We can handle it. Wow, you see. So since then we have gone a long way. And we have our new battles now. Now we have two samskaras on both hands. Racism everywhere, no racism anywhere. That's where we are now. And that morphs into politics, into Trumpism, into Hillaryism, into everything. Into the Russians invading. And the memes, and the social media, and the false news, and the fake news. It's everywhere. You see, it's like one big mess, you see. But we need to be able to detect these. If we can detect the samskaras, and you really can't see the samskaras in society unless you begin to see them in yourself, because you are society and society is you. You are America and America is you. So the samskaras and the conflict out there are in us. But we can't change out there, but I can certainly begin to observe and discover it in myself. And when I can see it in myself, I can see it out there because we're all the same. The same mind. The collective mind and my mind is two sides of one coin. So understanding and seeing how my mind operates is also understanding and seeing how the collective mind operates. And then you know what to do. Then you are not conflicted. Then you're not a hypocrite. Then you have no inconsistencies in your lower nature. And you can't do correct action. You can't do anything creative or kind or loving unless you remove unless you transcend the samskaras in our own mind, our own patterns of behavior. That's where it begins, you see. And it's not judging, it's just practicing being mindful, noticing it. If you see it, you're not it. If you see the samskara of shame or the samskara of resentment or the samskara of racism, if you see it in yourself, you're not it. If you don't see it, you're it. Thanks for dropping in.